everyone, and welcome to my channel Stitch and Soil. My name is Bella and I'm excited to start this journey with all of you. I want to preface this by saying I did mess up my video and the audio wasn't recording when I was doing this, so we had to jump ahead, and I'm going to start off talking about this hook that I actually got custom made from a creator named Woodcraft by Owen. So this is just a hand-turned wooden hook, and he put my brand name on it. He included a dent and a flat spot for my fingers, which I requested, and he did wonderful on. The hook comes off and tucks away for traveling, so the hook doesn't bend and it stays safe. And then it just pops right back out, and you just rotate it back the way it needs to, and then the hook can also unscrew and come off. He included all the bits and bobs so that I can use different hook sizes. I believe it goes down to like a 3mm and up to maybe about a 6.5, maybe a 7. I'd have to look at them. But I really love working with this hook. It helps with my hands so that I don't get a lot of cramps while I am crocheting. So I usually use what I believe is called the knife hold. I'm not sure. Everyone holds their hook a little bit differently, and this is just what works for me. So you'll see I'm demonstrating how I hold my hook. And we're just going to go ahead and get started on today's project, which is a leggy frog from a wonderful creator named, what was it? Not Jaded Co., which you can find on both Ravelry and on Etsy. I will be linking her Etsy pattern down below while we chat today. And I wanted to start off by giving you guys a little bit of a background about me. I'm currently a student at the University of Phoenix Online, majoring in accounting. I am a huge fan of Harry Potter things, which I know can be pretty controversial because of the author behind the stories, but it's something I grew up with, and I have completely detached her from her work, unfortunately. It's just how it is. But I would be a Ravenclaw, and I have a really cool Patronus, and I did the wand test, and I got to go to the whole park at Universal Studios in California, which was super fun when I graduated from high school. So I just have a lot of pleasant memories around that sort of thing. And apart from crochet, I enjoy making resin tumblers and spinning yarn. I also dabble in embroidery and sewing. I love cozy games. I love all things relaxed, which is a lot of what you're going to see on my channel here is just a lot of cozy things, nothing too crazy. And I really wanted to just take the time finally to make this video to the best of my ability. And so I wanted to go ahead and tell you guys my backstory and a little history. I know some people call it like a person's lore, so that's what we'll get into is the lore of Stitch and Soil. I started streaming in 2021 under the name G Squala, and I was mainly playing video games at that point, and it was really fun. I was just doing like Minecraft and Stardew Valley and Halo Infinite, Call of Duty, anything I thought was kind of trending at the time I was trying to do, but that really wasn't something that was working out for me. But the previous December, so December 2020, I had learned from a coworker while I was a receptionist how to crochet, and now I'm not saying she taught me very well. I am very much self-taught through other YouTube videos and blog posts, but it kind of kick-started this beautiful hobby that I'm so in love with now. And so I found my passion through crochet. Sorry, you'll see me adjusting the camera here. And I have learned so much in these last 4 years. It's kind of insane. But I discovered that passion, and I discovered a love for streaming and content creation. But I wanted to do something different, and that's when I found out that there's crafters on Twitch, and I didn't know that was a choice. I didn't know that was an option. And so following probably within the first year or so, I've rebranded to Crafting Squalls on Twitch, and I just really started loving it more. I made a bit more of a steady business. I went to a couple markets. I was streaming as a crafter, and I developed a love for this whole community. And now this year we moved to a bigger home with land, this beautiful home, and we were so blessed to be able to find a place in our budget that had 10 acres, which is very hard to find if you're in California. So that further led me to find a love for the outdoors and for gardening and for homesteading. So a lot of my channel is going to be crafts and the development of my little self-sufficiency journey, I would say. It's still very new to me. Everything is still in very much the startup stage, which is why I wanted to start doing this now rather than later. So you'll see that I am going to post a variety of content, and it's not because I'm trying to check all the boxes. I just want to share the things that I love. So that is something I'm aiming for. So hopefully within the next year or two we can get a chicken coop and a garden that's a bit more gardeny. I have a single tomato plant. It is doing its best and I'm so proud. But I figure I should start a YouTube channel and I could at least document everything for myself. It's always been a dream of mine to have a YouTube channel since I was like 15. I wanted a place where I could combine all the things I love and build a community and just share it with people who genuinely enjoy it. And let's see if I wanted to foster a community of support and just a lot of positivity and all the good things. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD and autism, and that's presented me with so many unique challenges, and I've learned to play up the strengths of who I am a bit more, and I've learned to give myself grace, and I'm learning to take care of myself better. I'm working towards being able to contribute to a variety of wildlife conservation foundations and humanitarian causes. I have a lot of really big goals in mind, and I am hoping to be able to obtain everything to be able to give back to the communities around me and support the beautiful causes that are, saving lives and preserving our earth. So for my crochet content, you'll see some tutorials and just some videos like this where I'm kind of just chatting and crafting. I might do some gaming videos where I review a game and or give some of the tips and tricks that I really like using and things that I wish I knew earlier in games maybe. And some just everyday vlogs about my life and maybe some baking streams because I have a sourdough starter and I just genuinely enjoy baking. So I'll be sharing all the tips and tricks and project ideas that I can. And if you end up joining me on Twitch, you'll see that I do Pomodoro study sessions on stream, which is really nice for people who like a calm co-working environment. I'm not super chatty on streams, but I do talk back. If someone's interacting with me, I'm usually studying during those moments, so I'm focused, and then I'll chat on our breaks. So while we work on this leggy project, I am using a worsted weight yarn. I'm not sure what the brand is because it was just a hand-me-down brand with no labels on it. A lot of my yarn I got for free, which is I'm grateful for. It's from my boyfriend's best friend's grandma. One of those things. You just kind of get random things and just appreciate the fact that people are supporting you in any way that they can, and it's great. So we're using that in a size 5 hook today. I'm using different weight and hook size than what the pattern calls for. I'm a little frazzled today, and I have those days quite often, but I just wanted to really put myself out there finally and introduce myself to the YouTube community and show everyone some of the work that I can do. Alrighty, now that we have that main part of the body done, I'm actually going to show you some of my favorite tips and tricks for small projects like this. So now that we have the body done and the eyes are attached, you can choose to put on the mouth or the blush. I just personally like how it looks when it's just two big old derpy eyeballs. And I leave an excessive tail for this video just for show. I usually leave it a bit shorter, but that's okay. So I'm going to make sure this is all nice and flat, and I'm going to show you this amazing thing. It's called a foot socks. It is a disposable nylon sock, kind of like a pantyhose. Very small. You usually saw them at like places like Payless, but they don't have those anymore. So I go ahead and every time I use one of these, I turn it inside out, or I guess it's right side out. I want the seam of the sock on the inside, and you can see the length of this compared to the body. It is obviously bigger, so this can work for bigger projects as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to make sure we get our stuffing, which is what I'm grabbing right now. Alright, so now that I have my stuffing and my foot socks little liner, what I like to do is I like to turn this over the project that I'm doing as much as possible. And this is to protect the outside of the yarn from getting the polyester fibers on it. It is kind of a pain in the butt and they just get everywhere, so I like to minimize the amount on the outside by covering it like this. So I'm just going to start by taking little bits of the stuffing, and I always use a couple fingers and I just start jamming it all in there as much as I can without it being overstuffed. So I'm just going to stuff it a couple times until I think it feels just right, because you don't want to overstuff it, otherwise it forces your stitching apart too far and it just doesn't look as good finished. So I think that's a pretty good amount of stuffing to put in there, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to unroll that and I'm going to show you what I do. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to grab your scissors. You're going to make 4 cuts, alright? Just trust me on this. It works so well for me. So we do a little snip snip on one side, a little snip snip on the other, and then we're going to cut each of those in half one more time. So we're going to have 4 strands. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be tying this off. So I usually do diagonals. I take 2 diagonal ends, and you'll see me do this. We'll do 2 diagonal ends, double knot each of them, and then we double knot them together. And you can either choose to trim the ends off or just stuff them in with the project. And today I chose to just stuff it into the project. Alright, and right there I was just making sure to feel how much stuffing was in there to make sure it was going to distribute nicely to make it nice and even. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my darning needle. I'm just going to select whatever size I think is going to work best for my project. And going to go ahead and just kind of show it off. I get the like 18 pack or whatever of these on Amazon. Everything I get from Amazon. I don't have a car and I can't drive. So online shopping. It is a blessing and a curse. I'm going to go ahead and thread this on there. And I'm going to show you how I like to finish off my projects. So we're going to go ahead and take this and I'm going to extra stuff it down in there so that it's nice and flat on the bottom. And then I go ahead and I make sure I'm holding the legs down on the side so they don't get in the way. And then I'm going through both loops on each stitch all the way down. And I do go ahead and I show you the front loop and the back loop, and I was explaining that each loop has a front and a back loop, and sometimes patterns want you to use either just the front or the back loop, but for a majority of stitching you're going to want to go through both. Alright, so right here you're going to see I'm describing to you the shape of these stitches is a V, and the outer side that I'm holding right now is the front loop, which is the outer side. And then I pick up and I show you the back loop, which is going to be the inner side of this project. And I'm just explaining what I was just saying. There are the 2 loops, but we work with both of them, so it makes a really nice anchor for the stitching, and it's really nice and secure. But there are times when you want to use either just the front or the back loop to create different types of dimension and texturing in your projects. So it is really nice to have the option to use your stitches in a lot of different ways to create different textures. Like, usually if you're making a dice bag or something, you're going to want to use the back loop for the row when you start building up the sides of your walls of the bag, because it creates depth and makes it a 90-degree angle sort of, so it makes it really easy for it to build up and stand up, and I will demonstrate that one of these days as well. So here you see I'm just gonna keep going in through the one side and pulling through the other, and then I pull it nice and tight. So you see I go in under and go in under on the other side. I don't let the yarn get wrapped around the hook. I always make sure it's not gonna do, I think it's called like a blanket stitch almost. I have to look up the specific stitch names. Don't come at me, politely educate me, because I am still learning. So as soon as I get to the end, I hold it down and I go through just one more time just to be secure, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I weave my ends in. So on the back end of my project, you'll see I go through this one loop, and then I'm gonna do small circular motions to wiggle my needle into the 4 stitches that I'm gonna pick up. So we're just gonna wiggle, 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 and scoop those up, and we're gonna go ahead and push and pull our needle all the way through. And now we're just gonna do this similarly, but we are skipping the first stitch. And why we do that is so that you're not undoing everything you just sewed in. So you skip one, and then you go under the other stitches, just like before, and you wiggle, 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 push and pull that needle through, and then you're going to do it one more time. However, you're going to go down a row for this next one. So I'll show you real quick. So we go down one, and then we're going to pick up 4 stitches again. Again, I find using little circular motions with the needle really helps getting it through the yarn, because sometimes it's just a pain. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull that through, and again I'm skipping the first half of the stitch, and I am failing a little bit, but that's okay. So then we're just going to pick these up, wiggle, 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 and pull this through, and you know what? Bam! As soon as I get it through there, all done. All I gotta do is cut it off. But while you are cutting it off, there's one more little thing we gotta do. So now that we have our needle off of our yarn, I'm going to show you how I finish off my project completely. So I hold it between my thumb and my pinky in one hand, and I hold the yarn, and my middle finger and my index finger are holding that nice and tight. Pull it a little tighter than what you want it to be, and snip as close to the stitching as possible. This will make sure the end of the yarn gets tucked in under when you go back to smooth it out, and it makes it really nice and flawless. And then bam, we have a derpy little frog. Look at him. Look at his little legs. Look at his little arms. And look at his little eyes. Gonna do a little dance dance. And that's all. Thank you guys so much for watching my video today. I'm excited to share this journey with you all. Happy crocheting, and see you in the next video. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch, and bonus, if you like and subscribe on this video, if you've made it this far, drop a frog emoji for me and tell me what your favorite summer activity is. Mine is staying inside nice and cool.